Welcome to Bleav in Chargers. A great day for some, a sad day for others. Always, you talk to coaches and people in the front office, anybody that works with a team, they'll tell you there is nothing that is less enjoyable than cutdown day. It's a dream. It's a career that, on average, lasts less than 4 years if you are successful. And for some, it's a career that lasts just a few weeks, a couple months, and then you got to figure out what you want to do with your life, as football may not be in your future. But the 53-man roster, at least the initial 53-man roster, has been set with Lorenzo Neal, a man that is no stranger to being around guys that work hard, that do everything right, and still you end up having to try to make your way around the league and kind of you try to hang on to some practice squads and just find that right situation where you might be able to get elevated to the active roster. But Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, every team had to have their initial 53-man in. The Chargers were no different. And as we talk about one of the great Chargers of all time, who played football in a time when you had to carry a fullback, we got 4 running backs. We got 3 tight ends. We do not have a, just distinct blocking tight end. We got 4 different kinds of running backs that were included on this roster, Low, but it's an interesting 53-man, that's for sure, in the initial run for Jim Harbaugh, his staff, and Joe Hortiz in the front office.
No question. And of course, you wanted to see a fullback, a true fullback on the roster, and unfortunately it didn't happen. But I kind of, watching around the league and watching just guys, Money, just play the position. And it's a lost art. You have to realize when I played, and there's still, the great Sam Gash. You look at the Mike Allstons and Larry Centers, Moose John. We move people. You watch guys now, they run up and then they stop their feet and then they engage in a block and there's no separation. And then so you kind of just plug and it becomes a log jam. So I with the way that the game has changed, I understand why. And I'm not saying I agree with it, but I do understand because it's not an art anymore. It's not when you see Sam Gash coming downhill, when you see, Matt Strum, who played with the Seattle, we hit linebackers and displaced them and moved them completely out of holes. When you have logjam, it's no need for them. So as I digress, just talking a little bit about the fullback position, it is.
It's interesting, though, Lo, because I think what we saw with them only keeping 3 tight ends, with Will Dissly's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, with Hayden Hurst, who's a great all-around tight end. He's certainly adequate, if not average, to slightly above average blocker and above average receiver. And then Stone Smart as your athlete. I think what we've seen, because I thought they might have carried 4 tight ends, but what we've seen from Greg Roman and from Jim Harbaugh is, and I'll credit Daniel Jeremiah for pointing this out. He's like, the way they look at it, it feels like, hey, why am I putting a tight end out here when I can just plug in a 6th and a 7th O lineman? Why put a 230-pound guy when instead I'm going to bring a 300-pound guy out here and McFadden at fullback? Or now we're starting to see Scott Matlock working in as a fullback, as a tight end. Against Dallas, we saw a 7 O lineman set a series for 2 plays. And I think maybe that's just the way they're looking at it. They're like, well, in the league today, I'll just really clean them out. I'll bring out 6, 7 O linemen, and I don't have to worry about a fullback. I'm really going to get some power and some meat going on some of these plays.
Oh, without a doubt. When you bring, like you alluded to, you're bringing in offensive linemen, guys that can move their feet, guys that use a blocking in the trenches, guys that are used to saying, we got to create a new line of scrimmage. That's the whole thing about offensive line, create a new line of scrimmage. And when you say, hey, look, we don't even need to keep a 4th tight end, because now when we go 12 personnel, I'm going to make your defense, I'm going to dictate what your defense can do. Are you going to stay with the regular linebacker, 220 pounds, 230, 240, and put him at a defensive end position? Now I have an offensive guard or offensive tackle playing tight end. He's going to displace, usually 9 out of 10 times, he's going to displace that defender, that linebacker, because of size and sheer strength and just being mass. So you're looking at now, if you do say, hey, look, I'm going to go big on big. Now, if you got the splits that you need, if you're got the right split spacing, and now you have a big guy out there, What's going to happen when he's trying to tackle a Gus? What's going to happen now when you put him out there in space and now he's got to hold the end? So now he can't be right. If he's going to lose outside force, outside contain. So I understand the philosophy behind going 12 and going 12, but bringing an extra lineman in, without a doubt. You watch the Niners at times when they do that. They put Big Trent at the tight end position. Why? Because they know it's a dominant position and it can be a mismatch to the defense. So I totally understand Greg Roman and Harbaugh's philosophy on why they do it and how they do it. But let me tell you, I'm just telling you, when old Hammer played that ball, Matty, I was going to create a new line of scrimmage out there, baby.
Exactly right. And speaking of just the NFC West, it was what Pete Carroll did with George Fant, where is he a tight end? Is he, lineman? And he's that sixth guy and they're clearing a lane, for Rashad Penny, for Kenneth Walker, for Marshawn Lynch. And I think when you look at the 53, the easiest position group for me to predict was offensive line. I felt like, okay, I know the 9 guys that are going to make it. Why? Well, you've got your starters, right? Slater, all-pro left tackle. Joe Alt, we believe his future is as an all-pro tackle. Zion, who's the biggest and strongest guy on the team at left guard. Bradley Bozeman, who's your center. But then look at all of the guys behind there. Trey Pipkins, tackle, guard. Jamari Sawyer, tackle, guard. Brandon Hymas, tackle, guard, center. Foster Sorrell, they started playing him at guard. I think he's going to end up being a better guard than a tackle. And Jordan McFadden, tackle, guard, center. Those it is all about flexibility for this team. And the old linemen they took that are their reserves can play anywhere up and down. And look, old linemen go down. It sucks, but it's the reality. Most teams don't even have 2 tackles, let alone 3. And so I look at the team that Joe Hortiz has put together, specifically starting up front, tip of the spear, as Coach Harbaugh says, and you've got great flexibility now. You've got guys that if, God forbid, something happens to Slater, okay, well, we know Joe Alt can play left tackle. He did it at Notre Dame, and now you've got Pitt that can play right tackle, Sorrell that can play right tackle, Sawyer that can play right tackle, and that's the sort of flexibility you need specifically at that position group. And I think it's one of the strengths of this team.
Oh, no question. As I kind of go back and go to the college game, think about my team that's playing this week and against Harbaugh's old team, Michigan. You play Fresno State.
Right.
Fresno State, they don't have the depth. And you're talking about, this is what you're talking about. You're talking about having depth, but quality depth. You're talking about having depth, but depth that is versatile depth. Fresno State probably can play with Michigan for a quarter in the big house. But after that, when you talk about the depth and the durability, that's where you lose. And that's what you look at your Chargers and what they're doing. Harbaugh, and they're saying, hey, look, we know what our starters can do, but what kinds of depth are we going to have after that, especially when offensive line, oh, yeah, by the way, when I got a $5 million quarterback, a quarterback that is the face of this franchise, I better protect him at all costs. Yeah. So I'm going to spend more money for depth, resiliency on the offensive line. And like you alluded to, that's why they went so deep on the offensive line and plenty of good backups.
Yeah, and then the running back room, they kept 4. I thought 3. They end up keeping Jared Patterson as well, and he was someone that flashed all training camp long. You saw it, Lo, when you were out there. Hard worker. And the thing I love about the running back room is these are 4 different guys. I mean, Gus Bus is gigantic. We talked about just looking at him standing next to JK. JK is a jack of all trades. He's the Swiss Army knife. You can put him out there as an every down back, and if he's healthy, he's a dude that can bust it in the A-gap. He can catch it out of the backfield and make a guy miss. He can truck a safety or a corner, and I just hope he stays healthy. Vidal and Patterson are different. Even though they're both diminutive in stature, they're different style backs. Patterson is more of your scat back, right? When you think of that third down back. Vidal, we've talked about, he's got some power now. He's got some power. So I think it's interesting because, that makes it a great room. What do you need? What do you want? Here, we got it.
Diversity. Yeah, that's the word you're looking for. Look at the running backs. They all have their niches, diversity, how they are. Gus, like you said, he's 4 yards and called a big guy. But you look at those 2 little scat backs. One's a power, another one can, wiggle and got a lot. They bring a lot to the table. So I think you're right. The room you have is diverse and they can fit different molds for what this team can do in the 3-minute and 2-minute offense. You want to go power, you have that. If you want to go, with 12, with 22 personnel, 2 tailbacks, you can even bring 2 tailbacks and you'll see those 2 in the backfield sometimes splitting time. So it's going to be interesting. just the diversity in what they can do with the different forms and formation because you have that type of talent for the Chargers.
And though I think they're all going to play too. Like
Oh, yeah.
you look at
I
some
agree.
depth charts and you're like, oh yeah, this guy will be inactive every single Sunday. He's just a backup plan and insurance policy. No, I think these guys are going to be active, and I think they're all going to play, like we said, because each of them offers something different that they excel at. Talk about excelling. Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform, number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, matchup, live odds, spreads that you can bet during the games. If you think you know your stuff, they got a $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week going right now. It's your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game is over, get to the online casino. They got blackjack, poker, 150 slot games, and more. The website today's got all of the action. Bet Online. The game starts here. Quarterback, no surprise. Justin Herbert, Easton Stick. And that's, look what happened across the league. The Browns kept 4. Teams are keeping 3. They want assets. They are not going to let these guys go so you can scoop them up. And so and the ones that are available, I don't think you're talking about, and it's not a real upgrade. So, number one, I don't anticipate Justin Herbert getting hurt. He doesn't get hurt. He's 60. Right. So the whole Easton Stick thing to me is fine because of the relationship that those two have. If he does get hurt, I just look at the Cleveland Browns, right? They end up going get the veteran, get Joe Flacco. All right, we're a playoff team. Our guy went down. Joe, get in here. What's he do? Plays like a veteran, takes him into the postseason. And to me, that's the approach. It's more, you know what? Let's just plan on Herbert playing 17. And if something goes wrong, we'll pick up the phone. We'll dial up Joe. We'll dial up Ryan Tannehill or something like that. And we'll cross that bridge then. Until then, let's just play this like Herbert is going to play every single game. And I think that's a signal of foot's fine. They feel good about the foot.
They do. And that's what I was a little bit, I was on the other side of that. And, you and I last week, you said, hey, look, hopefully, Herbert's not going to get hurt. And I totally understand that. And I talked about, hey, importance of having a good backup. And like you said, those guys, teams don't let leave the room. You just alluded to how many teams kept 1 and 2 and sometimes even 3 quarterbacks because they know what they have. The value's there. But look, the overpriced guys, those Phillip Rivers type of guys and guys that are, on the couch, 10-hand, those guys that are on the couch, hey, if something happens, you can go get that guy because the game's not going to get too big for them. They can go out and win a game, win a Super Bowl, win a couple games for you because they're that talented. But you don't want that type of talent on your team. You don't need it necessarily. You need more bodies. And that's what the Chargers have done. They said, we need more bodies that are going to be more applicable of playing right now than a guy that we know that, hey, why would we waste our money and time with a guy that's going to ride the bench pretty much the whole year when we can have a guy that's going to help this team even for 4 or 5 plays a week, even if he's not a starter all day.
Yeah, and I think it's, and I'll credit DJ again for this because, he's got that front office mind and approach, and it's a great point. He's like, by the way, it's like if someone says, hey, Tyler Huntley's only a 5th-round pick. Okay, well, he's only a 6th-round pick. Well, okay, let's go through it. Who's a 6th-round pick? Dean Leonard. You want Dean Leonard on this team? Yeah, I want Dean Leonard on this team for cornerback depth. 5th-round pick, Tarheeb Still, probably going to play some slot corner this year. You want to give that away? You want to give Kamani Vidal away? He's a 6th-round pick. Like Jamari Sawyer, he's a 7th-round pick. You want to give that up? That flexibility tackle? No, like these are assets. And yes, I know you gave away a 7th-round pick to some degree in Cornelius Johnson. He's going to probably be back on the practice squad. You can continue to develop him there if you want. So be it. But for a player that you are anticipating not taking a single snap, save garbage time all season long, don't give up the asset yet. Just wait. Let's wait and because guess what? Justin Herbert goes down. We got issues.
Guess what? Newsflash.
That's serious issues that probably aren't going to be able to be overcome by PJ Walker. No offense to PJ Walker or Nate Sudfeld or whoever else you want to go out there to get. So let's just keep the asset. All right, let's keep moving.
Good. That was good material, Matt. That was good material.
Wide receivers, big surprise. They keep 7. I never in a million years would have thought they were going to keep 7, but I'm happy for Brendan Rice. I thought he worked really hard in training camp. The coaches could not stop singing his praises, how much he dove into special teams, wanted to make sure he made his mark there. And look, Simi Fehoko, you can make a case, was the best player on the offensive side of the ball, not just for the Chargers, but one of the best in all of the preseason. And when they pulled him from that Dallas game after that touchdown, it's like, okay, he's on the team. He's shown them enough. He's on the team. And they end up, not having to make a choice. They're like, whatever, we'll figure it out somewhere else. We'll bring 7 in.
Yeah, he's back-to-back weekends, touchdowns, and huge plays. We call those explosive plays. You look at certain running backs, some guys are chain movers, some guys are game changers. LaDainian Thompson, a game changer. You're talking about a chain mover. Jerome Bettis, he was a chain mover, not a game changer. So you look at this Holcomb guy, what he was able to do. I mean, this was game changing. You're talking about flipping field position. You're talking about big in place, having the awareness, how to get open, how to beat coverage. The things that he did was game changing for this, Charger team. So I'm glad that he make it. Oh, I know we talked about it. I know you just mentioned it, but Rice, no Jerry, but personally, I'm up in the Bay doing things there. I get to play golf with this guy. I mean, Jerry, the greatest receiver of all time. I wasn't at practice, but watching a couple games, watching Rice get off beat press coverage, watching him get open, watching everything is great till the ball got there. So how did you, what was that like, Matt? Seeing a guy, you watched him up close and personal at practice a lot more than I did, but in games, his ability to beat press coverage, his ability to get open and get separation, but everything was great until the ball got there.
Yeah, he had a couple bad drops in the games, but he was making those catches in camp, and he's making contested catches, and he's making tough catches. He's over the shoulder, tracking the ball, catches for touchdowns. And for whatever reason, in the game, it just wasn't working as well. I think there's something to be said when Herbert's out there throwing the ball around, performed very well. So I think that's part of it. The other part is I think they knew he'd get claimed. They're like, you know what? If we waive him, he's getting claimed. He's gonna get put on somebody else's 53, and we're gonna lose him. So let's just figure out a way to keep him and take it from there. And I think in the case of Fehoko, and that's what happened, right? Fehoko just forced their hand. I think he was always going to be part of it in Fehoko because he's made his way around 3 practice squads already. Someone that you don't really have a spotlight on him, but Rice may have been the apple of an eye of some teams that wanted to bring him in as an undrafted free agent. We're going to maybe take him in the 7th round. Had he slipped to them and likely would have got claimed. I think in the case of, go ahead, Lo.
Oh, a guy that I was just going to, when you were talking about, you jarred a memory of mine, a guy like Wes Walker. You remember what happened when, the Chargers let that guy get on the street? Adios. Here comes a guy and make a punt return, slowest receiver. But what did he end up doing in the game? And what happened? Miami Dolphins, boom, claims him right away. So that's kind of what you're that type of an athlete. You think that he has the potential, and you still have, or you think that window is still going to be where Brandon stays on this team? How do you look at it? That final cut is it.
You know how it is, Lo. It's the 53 today. The 53 today is not. This is not going to be the 53 on September 8th. There's just the team has already showed their hand, right? They've already churned the roster. Hey, let's bring in Shaq Quarterman. Let's bring in, we're going to waive you, Jalen Gill. Nope, now you're coming back, Jalen Gill. Oh, wait, now you're gone, Savion Jack. Now you're back, and now we're bringing in Tucker Fisk, and and this team churns. Joe Hortiz is always looking to advance this team forward on the margins, and I just don't think this 53 is what it is going to be. Who the players are out there, I don't know, but that's my guess. So.
No, I totally understand what you're saying, because I'm with you, same church, same pew. When you look at that money, is that a situation where you say, hey, there's a veteran guy on this team that thought was question mark, that you said, hey, it's question, don't think he would have made a team. But if he's on the day, is it still the same? If you're on the roster opening day, your salary is guaranteed the rest of the year. Is that something that you see, or is that still in place where, hey, look, let's get this guy, let's get him a week, and now he's going to be a rotating guy that we know maybe a lot of teams won't pick him up, but he's going to get his money. But now we can rotate. He's going to be paid, but we can go out and bring another guy in for a week, 2 weeks. Is that the case?
Yeah, no, I think in the case of Tony Jefferson, like when he first got here, right, there was just a connection with Derwin. Derwin immediately dropped his name. He's like, you know what? I'm hoping, I'm glad Tony's here. I think Tony's going to allow me to move around a lot more, have him back there when we play three safeties. So, and then you could just see he wasn't quite up to football speed, football shape. It was a little sluggish early on. He's playing with the threes, he's playing with the fours, and then starts getting his feet under him. He starts getting he's getting comfortable. And what you saw in that Dallas game, I think, was the culmination of, okay, now he's back. Now he's comfortable. And now he's a 10-year vet that knows what he sees. And he knows what it looks like. And he's jumping routes. And he's got 2 picks, a forced fumble, a sack, a tackle for loss, double-digit tackles. And it's like, okay, we're good. Yeah, this guy's good. And it's worth having him on the team. And the nice thing is, again, it's that I think the fact that JT Woods, I think probably would have got cut had he not started to excel at corner. And because he's kind of everything, I don't want this to sound the wrong way. He's kind of everything that Jefferson isn't, right? Jefferson, maybe the athleticism has fallen off as he's 32 years old, but the mind and the eyes, incomparable at safety. Right. Woods, 4'3", 6'2", long levers, just tick slow. So you know what? Let's put him at press man. And now it's like, okay, this is working. You want a corner. This is what you want. This is the guy that you want. So this is the body type that you want. And I think it's intriguing enough that they're feeling like, okay, in situations where we want to press a guy, I'm comfortable throwing him out there. So let's keep him on the roster as well. And we'll go essentially, 7 corners, 4 safeties. That's the 11, and that's kind of how they decided to put that secondary together. And I think it looks pretty good. I was a little worried about it, but Dean Leonard to me has flashed. Ja Taylor, I think, looks good. Still has given you a little bit. And JT, I think, can work his way in there over the course of the season. So I think the secondary looks all right.
I'm with you. I'm watching Leonard, little guy. He's jumping all over the ball. This guy is physical. He's getting after. Just going to be interesting just to see, how is the boys up front is that going to correlate? And we're going to see this same type of press coverage, same type of deal with those guys up front. Is there a surprise up front that you didn't see coming on that defensive line that's going to dictate what the secondary can do?
Yeah, not that I didn't see coming, Lo, because we talked about it after the Rams game. Like, best thing that could have happened to the Chargers is Miami didn't think Teair Tart was a starter. And it sounds like Teair was upset as he signed with a free agent under the auspice that he was going to be a starter. And he was essentially taking a 1-year prove-it deal so he could get back into the market and get his big check next year. And when he found out that wasn't going to be the case and he was slipping on the depth chart, they were like, all right, get out. Don't want you here. And the Chargers were all too happy to pick him up, and he's going to be a starter. I can tell you that because, man, that guy's in the backfield. Every snap you watch film, and he is back there. He is quick on the interior. So now you're talking about that guy next to Bosa and Mack and Thule and Morgan Fox. And, that's how it's looking on the front. So that, to me, he's just a huge addition to this group. I think Tito is still developing. We know what Morgan Fox is. He's proven it. He's a 6+ sack guy on the interior. They like what they've seen from Poona Ford, but to me, Tart, that's a big, I feel like he's a big get for this team and that he is going to excel because you're going to have Bosa and Mack on the outside, and he's going to have some one-on-ones and he can win them. I mean, boy, does he win them, and he wins them in a hurry.
He does. And on the depth chart, they have him at 3 coming in. So he's moved so you can see him now.
I think so.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think by the time, if not, you know what they're going to do, though? They're just going to rotate those guys through. Yeah, those guys are going to constantly rotate, and he's going to be in there. If it's Fox, I think you're probably talking about 4, right? Fox, Ford, yes, Tito, and Tart. So those 4 guys are constantly. And Thule can kick it. I mean, we've seen Bosa kick in. And you're stacking Bosa and Mack on the same side. So you're just going to see a constant rotation of those 4 guys and the 4 edge rushers, Bosa, Mack, Thule, Dupree. And I think I'm excited to see what Jesse Minter does with that group.
So. Oh, me too. I'm excited too. Money. No, we're pushing for time. Get into the linebackers. Did you see? I mean, we talked about the back end. We talked about the defensive line up front. What about the secondary? Who's a cover guy? Who's a run plugger? Who are we going to be looking at, keying on, saying, hey, this guy is going to be your plugger? Okay, this
Look,
guy, I like him in coverage. Where are we at there?
yeah, here's what I think. I'm gonna take a sip because I'm getting
Yeah,
all
you
excited.
got you fired up, money. Let's get it, baby.
Man, I'm so happy that Junior Colson got out there against Dallas.
Yeah,
This is the idea of Junior Colson and Deion Henley being the linebackers for this team moving forward, as young as they are, is very exciting. It's early. Neither of them is, Colson has never played an NFL snap.
right.
Deion has barely played any defensive snaps. He was almost exclusively special teams last year. But you're talking about Deion is one of the fastest guys on the field. At his size, with the thump that he brings, Junior Colson's able to cover sideline to sideline, and he is big. He's a big dude, and he sees it. You can see him see it, diagnose it, shut it down. And we saw that in that game. And I think, and look, we know what Denzel Perriman is. He's the savvy, sees
Right.
it vet, and he's going to be, until Junior's ready. But I think that is going to be, I think we're going to be talking about, one of the great linebacking duos in the NFL.
Wow.
Not before long. I have so much belief in that pair and how they complement each other so well. One is the green dot quarterback of the defense, Junior Colson, and the other, hey man, you better hope that he doesn't get cut loose, because when he does, someone's in trouble in Deion.
Wow.
I really feel like they're going to be a big part of what Jesse Minter wants to do this year, not before long. I think Junior's going to already be rotating in, and I won't be surprised if he's, before you know it, wearing the green dot and is the guy who's orchestrating everything out there.
Wow. I mean, money, you don't throw around great often. No. You seriously, you don't tell. And Gus, with all due respect, you talk about the running back room, how it's going to be great. It's going to be a good running back. They're going to be good by committee. How they're going to do.
Right.
But you're saying this possibly can be great, not
Great.
good, not an average two backers. You're saying this duo could start to be. You can hear it. Put the G by. I mean, great.
Yeah, I think greatness. I really do. I just think of what the league is now, how athletic you have to be. And when you're athletic, sometimes you're sacrificing size. That's not the case with Junior Colson. You see that trunk, and you see dudes get stood up when they run into him. And it's like, okay, this guy's everything. Like, he is. And you saw it at Michigan. You saw the toughness. You saw the leadership. You saw the big plays when big plays needed to be made, when those guys are winning 13-9 and 17-14, and you've got to get a stop. He's the guy that made it, and you can see it. You can absolutely see it. And I'm excited. I really am. They got to prove it. It's all projection right now, but just projecting, like, just the tools, the size, speed, vision, athleticism, it's everything you'd want. It's everything you'd want.
Is this Patrick Willis and Marv Bowman? Is too soon? I mean, you talking about speed, athleticism, those two type of guys. When you remember what they were like.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the more current comparison that a lot of people will make is Roquan. Junior is Roquan, and Deion is Patrick Queen. I think that's the 2023 is what you hope. And it's easy to do that because of Baltimore, and everything is Baltimore with this team, right? But yeah, I think, like, you don't ever want to throw that around, Patrick Willis and NaVorro Bowman, but how important that level of the defense can be when you get it right, and man, I just feel like they got it right. I really do.
That's big, because you remember, the only reason I'm going there, because it's Harbaugh's team when he was at 49ers, and those two guys, how about a guy named, that they called Justin. You remember Old Country? It's Justin Smith.
Justin Smith.
And
Smith.
And Alden Smith. And now you got the two guys you have on Mack and Bosa. And you're talking about, now you got those two type of pass rushers. It's safe to say what we have on this team is comparable to that. The linebackers, now you're saying, could potentially have the athletic ability and the speed to become great. I'll take that any day.
Yeah, it's probably the position I'm most excited about, just to see. And I think, look, and as we kind of wrap this up, I think it's a perfect. It encapsulates what this team is, and that is a complete unknown. I have no idea what this thing's going to look like. I don't know what that running back room's going to look like. I don't know what Ladd McConkey, Josh Palmer, DJ Chark, Fajogo Day. I don't know what that's going to, I mean, you saw what they did in Dallas with the Darius Davis sweep. We were constantly looking for that. It's like, this guy's a legit 4-3, averages 16 yards every punt return, all pro, and you can't figure out how to get him the ball more, and you can't figure out how to use that speed as a weapon. And we saw it against Dallas, and as soon as he hit that corner, see you later. See you later. You ain't catching that. He's the fastest guy. He might be the fastest guy. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. You're not catching that. So there's just so much that I don't know, and I'm excited to see. That makes it exciting, right? It's exciting to think about what's possible.
Oh, no question. I'm excited to see it too. Yeah, but when I saw 12, once he hit the corner, if he was even, he was leaving. It was a great play. That little reverse sweep and that quick jet sweep to get to the corner. And once he turned it, like you said, it was over. So, hey, man.
And what's it do for the rest of the game, Lo? Like, what does that do? You do that early. What's that do for the rest of the game? Now you run that guy in motion every time. It's over. It's over. Now you got an end that's just watching him like every snap. There's nothing you can do.
Right.
So,
right.
Well, the 53 again. Feel bad for the guys that put every ounce of energy and effort and followed and did everything that was asked of them. I hope they all find spots on practice squads, across the league, and the Chargers practice squad. Excited to see what that ends up looking like. It's not put together right now at the time we're doing this, so excited about what this team looks like. Excited about the 53-man roster, and just Lo, can't wait to get to Raider Week, man. I mean, we got football on Thursday the 5th.
Yes.
So Thursday the 5th of September, we got NFL football, Chiefs versus Ravens, and we're going to get rolling on the 8th. I mean, it has arrived. It's darn exciting.
It's here. Well, Money, I can't wait to get with you next week, and we can talk about those.
There we go.